Welcome back to the Honey Line. In this episode, we're going to give you an update of where we are with the layout. We're going to fix some issues with some warpage, and we're going to make a couple of changes. Okay, so first of all, the warpage issue. So I knew there were some issues with the actual the foam adhering to the polystyrene. So this bit's the foam, this bit's the polystyrene, this is OBS board. Now, I should have tested it. It's all my fault, user error and all that stuff. But when I originally put this foam down, I put it down with some spray glue. And what I didn't think of at the time is a lot of sprays, aerosols, will melt polystyrene, will melt this stuff, and where this stuff is pretty much impervious to everything. This is really good solid stuff. It's roof insulation. It's pretty much, flame retardant and the whole kit and caboodle. This stuff is not. So this is melted. Where this is adhered to, it's melted in places. It's still stuck down, but it was starting to peel away. Now I've already fixed this. I put some hot glue in and around certain areas and just held it down. It's not the ideal solution because over time this can separate, but it's a fix for now, and I'm hoping once we get everything on the top of the foam and everything's weighed down, everything should still stay still. Because the only other option I had would have been to essentially rip this up, rip that off and glue this straight down to there, which would have actually probably been a better idea, but it would have caused problems with such as over here where we've kind of carved in for the river, etc. So that is a catastrophe sort of averted for the moment. Update wise then, so we've started making the little river from this area, which is going to be the kind of ruinsy area. I've still not 100% decided on what that was going to be. There's a possibility it's going to be something a little bit silly. I have been rewatching Stargate recently, and I thought, I could do a half-buried Stargate in there, and then that scratches the train nerd issues and the sci-fi nerd issues. So that river's gone down, and we've kind of like cleared this, started doing this area for the lakes. I was going to do a video specifically on this. I did film a lot of the footage, but I set up a lot of different cameras to try and film it, to show it. Editing wise, it just ended up really complicated. Well, not complicated, I could do it. There's kind of like the old effort reward scheme involved with making videos. For me, I don't do this for any other reason that I enjoy making videos. I enjoy making films. I enjoy filming things, and I enjoy editing to a degree. But sometimes you've got to think to yourself, actually, it's not worth the time that I'm spending on editing, 3 cameras plus separate audio and splicing it all together, matching it all up, etc. I could be spent actually finishing the layout, which is what I want to do more. So yeah, I'll still use that footage as you can see now. So we've got the lake bed pretty much completed. Completed. It just needs painting, some texturing, some water and stuff like that. As you saw from last episode, the bridge is in. I'm very much the first to admit that I am doing this in a complete arse backwards way as regards to I'm just doing bits at a time, rather than saying, well, lay the track, do the wiring, build up the base scenics, do it all. I'm kind of like just doing, well, today I fancy doing this, and then I want to fancy doing this. It's just how my brain works, and it's just how I do things. I've never built a layout, especially to this scale and to this much detail, so it's all a good learning curve for me. And you can watch 1,000 videos on YouTube, and which you know, I have watched hundreds of videos on YouTube on making layouts. But at the end of the day, you've got to find ways that suit yourself, and that's kind of what I've been doing. I've been learning as I go along. So yeah, so they're the bits that are done and either won't be changed or can't be changed. You know, things like once clay's down, that's it, clay's down. You want to change it, you're restarting it. I'm happy with this bit. This area down here is going to be kind of like I said, a lake. As I've said, I do like films. There might be some little homages to various different things kicking around there. The little river systems going, I wanted the kind of like the couple of rivers going into one with the bridge going across it. That's underway. The bridge is removable as it stands at the minute, which is good because it means when it comes to painting it, I can kind of get around that, hopefully, if I struggle. And then obviously we've got this back scene, which pretty much just needs painting, which now brings us on to the bits that need to be modified and changed. 3, 2, 1. First change we're going to make then is this tunnel mouth. Now, I don't actually mind the tunnel mouth. I made it. We did there's been an episode on it. I would quite happily carry on using it, but for a couple of reasons. So the area where the tunnel was going to go, originally I planned to use the good old Javis Scenics, this tunnel. Because I wanted the story, you know, we're doing a diorama and we're kind of painting pictures and we're making a story. This tunnel was the original tunnel because the railway that went up the mountain was originally going to be a standard gauge railway. So they started making the infrastructure and boring these tunnels coming through the mountain and stuff like that. But then for whatever reason, usually cost, they changed to narrow gauge. Changed to these little buddies. So then I wanted to show that this tunnel was, you know, the original tunnel, but they kept it. They'd already built it. Apologies for the dogs. However, where the tunnel was originally, it didn't fit. So we built this. And I did a plan, and I quite like it. It needed some tarting and some finishing and some blending in, but that was fine. I could have done that. We all planned for that. But then came warpage issues. So when I started the main chunk of this layout, the weather was horrific. We had virtually a week or two of non-stop rain, cold, damp. You know, like almost unending biblical levels of rain. So I think one of the problems is, as everything's dried out, like all that moisture that's been in the boards and stuff like that, everything's kind of shrank as it you know, moisture's come out of it, or the heat, because we have had a couple of warm days. It's causing everything to bend and warp, which meant this tunnel no longer fitted snugly up against our little back scene where the tunnel was based. The other problem that I had is, as it stands at the moment, it's not clear now, everything's masking tape down, but it's very clear that the track is a loop, like it is a big donut. The trains come out, they go around in there, and they come into this area. there's a set of points in there. They're going to get removed and they're going to get put down here, because originally that was going to go off onto a fiddle yard. I've decided that's probably going to be there, and the fiddle yard goes this way. This board is going to go over there, etc, etc. That's kind of part of the plan at the minute. But yeah, it's a very obvious loop, and I didn't want it to be an obvious loop, even though it is a loop. So my thinking is, by having this tunnel on this angle, like coming out of here, you know, you're not going to see, as the trains go in, it kind of looks like the track's not looping round that way. It kind of looks like the trains go in a loop and then they come in this way, you know, towards wherever. And similarly on this side, when we get round to doing that bit, we're going to have a kind of that looking like an angle to give that weird optical perspective illusion that it's coming out of. Rather than coming that way, it's coming sort of out and down, if that makes sense. So yeah, so they're the major changes that we're going to do today, is essentially get this tunnel down. Now, the reason that all this is masking taped, we've got it over the points down on the track, and the minute I'm going to move all the trains out of the way, we've got this in place, is because I'm going to use some expanding foam, which is probably potentially going to be very disastrous, which is why everything's covered, so then at least if it goes, you know, Pete Tong, we can rip it. Just uncover the masking tape, and you know, we've not ruined 15 quid, 16 quid's worth of points, etc. So yeah, so we'll crack on with that now. I'm going to pack down the trains, because one thing I have learnt about expanding foam is when it gets on things, it gets on things good, and it's incredibly hard to get off. And although our little black Taliquin and our little technically brown Welsh pony are going to get stripped at some point and repainted, I don't want them covered in foam. So yeah, I'm going to do that, and then we'll get spraying. So prep wise, we've got the trusty blue roll on hand. We've put some blankets on the floor and just on there, because there's a couple of bits underneath there. Keep it all nice and safe. And we've got the trusty blue gloves, because this stuff, expanding foam, is not very nice on your skin. Let's just reposition slightly. So the plan is, and let's talk theory first, is this area here, if we can get it to focus, so this area here is where we're going to start, and we're going to essentially try and layer the foam up until it's at a reasonable height. This section is probably going to go, because this is one of the things that's slightly warped, or the base is warped. It's not fitting. It might come in use for other projects. We can rebuild it. It is not a problem, because now we're moving those points that are in there to down here. We don't have to worry so much about it being as open. We just need a little bit of access for in case things derail, which if there's no points on there, it reduces the risk of derailment and the like. So let me just get the bits we need. In using, shake the can thoroughly, screw the nozzle to the outlet of the can till the can upside down, put the nozzle at the hole. Use clean nozzle with pipe. Use clean nozzle with pipe cleaner. Didn't know that. Okay, we have the blue gloves. We have our tin of Gorilla Filler. I am just shaking it up. So this is 151 Gorilla Filler. It's expanding foam. Any brand will do. I'm reading the directions. And I've actually learnt something new. So it says, wear protective gloves when using. I can speak from experience. I've used similar fillers before. I have got it on my skin. It is an irritant. It really gives you some nasty sores. Shake can thoroughly. Doing that in a minute. Screw the nozzle to the top of the can, which is this bit. I've got the focus set to here, but yeah, basically you screw the nozzle, this, to there, and you use it upside down. The thing I've learned, obviously expands quickly, it dries within 24 hours. Any excess can be cut away with a sharp knife when dry. After use, clean nozzle with pipe cleaner, cellulose thinners or nail varnish remover. I didn't know you could clean it with nail varnish remover. And it says from the 24th of August 23, adequate training is required before industrial or professional use. I didn't know that. I thought anyone could use expanding foam. Obviously not. I know there's a lot of regs between what types of foams you can use especially in professional places, because fire ratings, fire safety and stuff like that. I think they're usually the ones that use to like fill round pipes and stuff like that in plant rooms is usually pink. But yeah, so I'm going to give this a good shake. Cellulose. And just a note on kind of like, because it says about cleaning with cellulose thinners. Cellulose thinners is what they used to use to thin. They probably still do, but it's used to thin paint, car paint, and it can be used to strip paint. Now, if you ever do use cellulose thinners, be very, very careful. It will melt most plastics. Never use it to strip paint on plastics, and it is extremely flammable, and I mean extremely flammable. So yeah, so if you are looking, thinking, oh, I can get that, probably go with the nail varnish remover or pipe cleaner, not cellulose thinners. So, moment of truth, here we go. How is this going to work? Now I'm expecting a bit of as it clears the air and splutters. Oh no, it's quite good. So remember, this is expanding foam, so it will expand. And we're going to make a little bit of a foundation, I suppose we can call it. Do you know what? This isn't as half as messy as I expected it to be, which is nice. Now the problem's going to be when we run out of the wall to go above it, but that's fine. It won't stick initially to the inside of the tunnel, which again is kind of fine, because obviously ooh, see what I mean? It's when it gets stringy it gets dangerous. And obviously working at this angle is not the best. I think what we'll probably have to do is do this in little bits, like let it go a bit solider. Now I'm not going to mess with this and try and shape it in its current form. But as you can see, it's already expanded. I mean, we might not even need to thing it, because this is essentially our base, if you get what I mean. And as it'll dry, it will make a nice rocky texture. Now I want to try and get this down and remove this before everything like fully expands. So what we'll do, if we just cancel the old focus set, or can we do it to there? Yeah, it looks nice. We'll do this bit now. Let's see if we can just move you up a little bit. Without taking it off. I mean, I'm using this masking tape for two reasons, because I can cut closer to the edge of this. You see how much that's expanding? That's fantastic. Right, this is the secondary dangerous bit. Let's just give it another shake. I can feel there's quite a bit in, but it doesn't seem to be coming out as quick as I'd like, or in the way I'd like. That's better. Bit around there, get the foundations going. Now this stuff is good. For a lot of things. As you see, it's already started hardening a bit in the actual don't you dare, don't you dare, I can see you. Stay. I should have really put something at the back there. Now from the camera it kind of looks like I'm covering the track, but I'm not. We'll have to do that again though. I mean, I suppose we don't have to go right to the top on this. Like I said, we have taken precautions. We are kind of covered. Can you just go in there a little bit? Now ideally you want to use a full can's worth at a time, or you know, most of it, because this stuff doesn't keep well. Right, we're I think we've reached our limit there of how high we can actually get this to go without supports. So there you go. I'm going to go and actually use some of this around the rest of the board, and hopefully that's not all going to fall. It is going to all fall. I've foreseen it. I can see it within the force. The force has told me that's the gravitational force. This is gonna fall. So yeah, that's the thing. Right. So as we said, we're going to leave that now, let it do its thing. And then when it's all nice and expanded, we'll come back and we'll start some cutting and some shaping. It came from the deep. I just thought I'd show you. Like, now I was expecting it to expand, you know, title of the product being expanding foam. However, I wasn't expecting it to quite, just get the tripod out of the way, expand like this. So as you can see, the two sides have now meeted up. I am so glad I put that tape down. It's joining up. Luckily we can cut it away. I moved the back bit out. I've had to secure some foam core on the side temporarily. We're expanding over the edge. It's messy stuff. It's good stuff. I mean, as you can see, it's slightly pushing out the foam core. So yeah, we're doing all right. I taped up all the points on this side and connected the tape up there. I'm hoping there's not a little gap on the track, because this is going to be a pain in it. Mind you, I've got track cleaning rubbers, it'll be fine. But yeah, so this is what, 30 minutes after spraying, I think half an hour ish. So I'll keep giving little updates, I reckon, see if it expands any more. 24 hours to dry, so tomorrow morning hopefully it should be solid enough. It's like bit like PVA glue, or if you've ever done resin liquid pours, the outside goes harder first and then the inside kind of like follows. I believe it's like a thermochemical reaction sort of mijiggy that goes on with it, but it's cool stuff. I love it. But yeah, there we go. Like the kind of looks like some sort of giant butt. Shoved their arse through the tunnel, man. Ah, love it. All right, so it's still drying. So we've been about what, hour, maybe two. It's now hard to touch, but it is soft and squidgy. The inside's still wet. Is the best way to describe it, I would imagine. If we have a quick look, so we've got obviously what we're affectionately calling it the bum in the tunnel. As you can see on the top, it's kind of met each other. Now it shouldn't be a problem, because what I can do is, once it's dried, is cut down here, so essentially slice that to the rails. This will actually give me a nice wall, and then we're just going to need to do some trimming. I don't know if I'm going to trim off the top, or whether or not. I'm half tempted to maybe put something above the tunnel and along the top here, doing like a little shelf, and just put more expanding foam on it and build it up to kind of this height. And that'll be like our back scene. We've got an overhang there that we need to cut off. Once you start carving this, it can make effective rocks. But yeah, I think we're done for the expansion, hopefully. I can't see much more expanding on it, if I'm entirely honest. But if it does, I will let you know, and then we'll do some more. We'll cut it all out, and then we'll maybe start a bit of dressing, I think. So yeah, so I will see you shortly. Okay, so as well, I don't know if you can see, but as you can maybe guess, this has gone pretty hard now. I've taken the foam board off of the other edge. It was a bit sticky. It's still a bit wet in the middle, but what I'm going to do is start carving out some of the areas. So this little overhang on here is going to go, we're going to level it out on the top, and take it from there. You know, because hopefully you carve it off a little bit, it might let some of the moisture out and it dry quicker. And I want to get down on the track because obviously this bit is a little bit concerning, but we've got a sharp knife. Now most people, when I've watched them do this, use a bread knife, but this seems to be cutting through it quite easily. I'll set up an angle and film it just so we can sort of see what it looks like when I'm carving, and we'll take it from there. Don't know how well that shows on camera, but it is still a little bit wet inside, so I think what we'll do is we'll just focus on the bits that we can see that are dry for the minute. You get an idea of basically how it's done, and then I'll leave it for a little bit longer, and then I'll come in and do the rest off camera. Unfortunately the butt's gonna have to go. That does amuse me somewhat, just like how it's formed. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. The other thing that's pretty cool as well is we should, oh yeah, that's still well wet in the middle of that, have, when it's kind of done, like a funky, like it'll looks like some nice tunnel walls. Hopefully that's the plan anyway. I mean, one of the main concerns I've got is obviously the track is pretty well covered. Like I said, I didn't expect it to expand this much, but you live and you learn. I think we're going to have to hack this out in increments. So like I said, I do want to try and preserve some of it. Yeah, this is still quite wet in places. Wow, it's like a weird alien texture inside. I'll show you that in a minute when we get down to the meat, so to speak. Yeah, that's still, it's like a chocolatey Eclair shoe bun type of thing. It's still rather wet in the middle. So we'll leave it at that for now on our carving. I'll just bring you guys in so you can see what I mean. So in the middle there, that's all still like a wet goo. Really looks pretty good. Like, I'm impressed with how it's formed. I just need to try and get this back bit out. I might cut that crust off. And then that should get me, like, at least to see the track. I'm sure most of it will come off with a track rubber. Might need something a bit more aggressive sanding wise, but yeah, that looks pretty damn good. You can see we've cleared out the tunnel. Luckily none of the track underneath, from what I can see, got covered in the expanding foam, which is good. The masking tape did its job. It was actually quite easy to get it all out, to be honest. This stuff doesn't mega adhere to this type of foam, which is good. It's ideal. And this foam is definitely something I am going to be using in the future. So if we just bring you up a little bit, and move you to the side maybe. We'll go freehand. Ow, my toe. We'll go freehand for a minute. So, this is where I cut through while it was still wet. That was hard, basically our gooey centre originally. But that's now hardened up. It's, you know, I'm not going to say it's as hard as rock, because it's not. It's as hard as foam. Essentially, it feels like high density foam, because I suppose essentially that's what it is. But as you can see, we've got a nice cutting. We might need to do some trimming on this back wall here, like on this wall, just to. I'm a bit concerned with clearance, but it cleared it beforehand. Like if we just come around the back, like originally it got around that corner okay. If we can focus. No, not focus there. So yeah, originally it got round that corner okay, so I can't see any problems. If needs be, we can trim it back. That's the beauty about this stuff. So next steps then, move these points down to here. I think. And then I'm thinking like the rest, because this piece needs replacing. This stuff works really well. Why not put a lid on it, essentially, on this entire structure, and then like a back wall down here, a temporary one, and then just foam it up, baby, and make a hole. You know, make the mountain, essentially. I think that's going to be maybe what we do next. And then we've got the old sad tunnel. So there. But yeah, I like this. I think this has come out well. So I'm going to move those points and then have a little think about what to do. This bit obviously needs covering in. Like I said, the foam worked well, so I am very tempted just to kind of put a lid on this. Have a hole in the back so I can get my hand in and then just foam it up. But we'll see. I'll have a think about that. We've secured our little back shelf to the layout. We've got our handy little dandy hole, which is for essentially, you know, getting my hand in, fixing derailed things. We've shaved this down a bit more. These are all foam core and hot glued onto the back of the board, which unfortunately means I've lost my wiring channel. But as you can see here, we've got the drill with the big auger bit. I picked these up at the North Yorkshire Moors Steam Gala. They were only a couple of quid, which I thought was fantastic. It's a full set of auger bits which didn't look like they'd ever been used. They're great for doing this. Now there's two holes I want to drill. One is for this area here, which is going to be for adding pickups to this siding, because at the minute it doesn't get power because we've got an electrofog point under this, which essentially has got insulators on to stop it short circuiting. So we need to drop a couple of dropper wires down there, so then we've got power down there. And where our cable is there, we need to put it down there, which means going through the full board. And it's quite thick, but we should be, that's why I'm using the big bit, and we've got a wide channel. We can basically just drill it and sink it down. As it stands at the minute, there's no intention to have this scenic at all. It's going to be fairly blank. We might do the first couple of inches coming into the tunnel, just, you know, or we might just paint it black or something like that. But we shall see. So I'm going to crack on with that, and then I will show you our progress. Okay, so we've got the backboards on now. They're all set and glued in place. It's kind of taking shape. I'm going to use a traditionalish style now of doing the rest of the backboard bit using card. And my plan is to use card and the spray foam, because like I said, it worked really well. I'm going to use this to get a rough template for part of the section. And we're going to keep these overhang bits to essentially glue to the backboards, and then make a cardboard frame, glue it and stick it to the backboards and the bits of terrain, which will then give us a bit of a tunnel, and then I can spray the foam over the top of that. That's the plan anyway. So I'm going to mark this out now, get it there, cut it down with a pair of scissors. I've got a lot of cardboard at the minute, not because I've been particularly saving it, but our recycling bin seems to be endlessly full. And we bought a load of furniture and stuff, so we might as well make use of it. So let's crack on with that, and then we'll look at how that's going to work out, if it's going to work out. I've been busy. The thing is, what keeps happening, I think I'm going to do a bit, and then I remember, actually, before you do that, you need to do some other bits. So, because we've cut the template, obviously it's not, it sits flush. The idea is these tabs, like these tabs stick to the back, and this sits underneath and will stick to the inside of that. And I was like, cool, yep, done. Extend it down there a bit. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. We're sorted. But then I realised, well, actually, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the neck to get to the track underneath if I secure that down. And also in the tunnel mouth, if I just bring you down, as you can see, it's rather dark now, and that's because I've been in and I have painted it black. I'm probably going to do some dry brushing. Now I'm in two minds whether or not. So this comes off. At the minute it does anyway. And then we've got this nice dark tunnel portal. And this, I'll just take you off the tripod a minute. So two things we could do. We've got, obviously you can't really see anything once that is down. The paint's still drying. To get into these areas, I don't know how well that shows up, but it's basically quite hollow. If you can sort of see, it's a bit nebulous really in that bit there. So I mixed some PVA washing up liquid black paint in a spray bottle and sprayed it down. The track has got some little track screws in, N-gauge track screws, just to kind of hold it into place. It is also glued down in certain places as well. But if we just come down here in this little peepee hole now, obviously this is just basically a maintenance hole, but it would be cool if it was decorated, at least, you know. And at the minute I could do that. We could just put some wooden paneling or something like that, make it look like it's been mined out, just so when you're back, just a bit of visual interest for me, although this is probably going to be on this side, so you wouldn't, it's ideas I get, and it's details you'll never see, but it's things that I'll think, you know, it's nice to do. If anything, it's a learning curve, it's a learning experience. I'm finding for some reason in the creases paint won't stick. I'm hoping when this dries with the PVA in it, it'll add a little bit more. It kind of like a varnish to it, which is not a problem. It just might be, obviously I'm going to have to cover this then, for sure, definite. I'm hoping I've not, because when I was painting, the track did come apart slightly, and wet paint got, like, wet paint got into in between the fish plates, so that could be fun. We've got the holes drilled in, like, there's one in there in the central track that's ready for some droppers to be soldered in, and as you can see down here, if it'll focus, the droppers have gone through there. I don't like where this has ended up, but there's not much I can do with it. I might chisel some out. It's not a major problem. The concern is if the wire essentially goes, like if the table gets put on something and the wire gets trapped in it, then that's your main power to the table cut out. But that's all workable. So yeah, that's where we are in this kind of hodgepodge catch-up video. 3, 2, 1. We've been excuse me. We've been busy. Well, busy-ish. As you can kind of see down this area here, it's still a little bit wet, but I've started doing a little bit of kind of texturing, because once this is the lids on this little area, as we sort of come off, once the lid's on, it's going to be hard to get into certain areas. So we've done a little bit of painting on like this area. I don't know how focused this is. It's a bit hard because it's black. It's dark. You just move this tripod out of the way. So we've got that bit. This side probably could do with a little bit more painting, so when you look through, there's not some exposed foam. I did a little bit of experimenting. So this is some gardeny, like, what do you call it? It's like stuff you put in your pots. It's a little bit big for what I wanted. I did a test section in an area that it doesn't really matter. This stuff's probably going to be really good for the riverbeds, as big rocks and stuff like that. I found some homemade texture paint that I didn't realise I'd had, and that's been put down in just into the mouth of the tunnel essentially. This will help keep the track secure in place, as well as the glue. Adds a bit of visual interest as we come in, and as you can see, I've only gone part way down because I can access the rest of this pretty easy. This area here is the tricksy part, so to speak. And now what I'm thinking is, because I'm still unsure whether or not I'm going to decorate this inside, because if we look from kind of here, as I try not to fall over, although, you know, realistically this is not going to be fully visualized, or it's not going to be on display, it would be nice for me to have it slightly decorated. So I'm thinking, do I do something with that? It's a possibility. It'd be nice and easy. I've got some very simple warm white string LEDs on a battery pack, and what I'm thinking is these can go through our cardboard template, which is sort of there. Poke it through, glue it down, and then this whole little area can be like lighted with a dim light. So I think I'm going to do that. Now, the easiest way, because I don't want to spend too much time on an area that I'm not really going to see, but I would like something, you know, just something, just to show that there's something going on. So the easiest thing to do would be use the wooden, like, lollipop sticks maybe. Put them all down the side. That'd save me having to texture them, mixing plaster rocks and stuff like that. They're fairly thin, so we know they're not going to interfere. And do a bit of a kind of like a frame. But we'll see. These are all things to play with. Give this illusion of you know, something going into a tunnel. Even though the illusion's meant to be that the track's kind of like coming this way. It'd still be nice, and it's, you know, it's an excuse to practicing some more modelling. I've also dug out another controller, which is one that I got in an eBay job lot, a very cheap eBay job lot, one of the best ones I've ever had. I got this controller a bunch of old Triang track, and I got a Triang B12 with it. It was all, I think I paid something like 12 quid for a big box of things with animals and stuff like that. The B12 originally didn't run, it just needed a good service, and the B12 had a smoke generator built in it as well. But yeah, this had a broken plug, so I've just swapped the plug on it. It's a good controller, because the thing that was annoying me is every time I put any form of engine on, it was doing that horrible grinding noise with this awful Hornbeat controller. So that's done. So everything sounds nice. Yesterday I went to the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway, and I picked up this N-gauge shunter and a bunch of other little bits and bats. But that's going to get turned into a 009 engine. When I went to Anorax Anonymous, that £18 little tank engine, that's going to get turned into a 009 engine. I've been looking at 3D printed ones, bodies to go over the top. I am thinking that I would probably prefer to actually build my own, because I have got some N-gauge stuff over there, some wagons and that, so we're going to have a play with that. But that's by the by. So I'm going to have a think, and I'm going to see about putting that plan into action, and whether or not I want to actually do something. I mean, the other thing I could do is using my homemade texture paint, is just splatter it and put it down the back of here, paint it black, and then just put it down on the top of that. I've done that before, that kind of works. But yeah, I'll keep you posted. Everything's running, that's the main thing. I was worried that I'd dropped the clanger on this bit of track here, and made it so the trains wouldn't run or derail, but everything seems fine. That's why I've got these N-gauge engines out, because that one only cost me £18, so that one has basically been chugging round, clearing any fouled points or fouled bits of track. So yeah, so that's what we've done, that's what we're doing. And yeah, I'm still no idea what direction this video is, other than a kind of like modelling the back scene, maybe laying the foundations for that, new tunnel upgrades, yada yada yada. So yeah, I suppose I better stop talking about doing work and actually do some work. Okay, so we've got the little LEDs in place. They're basically the cheap ones that run off of AA batteries, 2 AA batteries on a switch. It's all mounted on the back board. I'll stop shaking this kind of a gorilla filler for a minute. The cardboard is hot glued in place. I'll just turn the lights off and do a quick demo for you. So, ooh, the low light features on this camera are pretty damn good, to be honest. But you turn that on. Obviously, at the minute, it looks like some sort of Frankenstein's mess. But as you can see in the little tunnel, like down here, it's all lit up, which will be quite nice. It's like a little feature, and it's inspired me to make more lighting. When I was at Worth Valley, I did pick up a couple of cheapo buildings, like the little lamp huts and stuff like that. The idea of them is for the next layout that I'm going to do, which is the engine shed and transfer yard, between the narrow gauge and the standard gauge, to have them dotted around there. But we could do something there. But how funky does that look? Just a bit of little atmosphere. It just gives it that little bit of extra pop. I'm really looking forward to getting the rest of it painted now. Anyway, I'm going to get our gorilla fill. You can't see. Let's put the light back on. I'm going to get our gorilla filler and start filling some gorillas and fill the whole of this bit. As you can see, I've masked up the majority of the track just in case we slip. The only bit I haven't masked up is the bridge, which is stupid, but you know, you live and you learn. This masking tape is great in the fact that it doesn't pull any paint off. It's like proper painter's masking tape, but it doesn't stick very well on the same token. So yeah, so I'm going to get gorilla fill in. I need to get some gloves, and then we'll come back when this is dried. I might leave the camera running and just do a time lapse. I've not done a time lapse in many moons, but we shall see. We are gorilla filled up, as you can see. I've deliberately done a little bit of overhang. We've done a little bit of pushing down in this corner just to cover the cardboard. And now we wait. So there's 51 minutes on this camera as it stands at the moment. If we learn anything from last time of how this expanded, I've probably used far too much. I've used about a can's worth on this area. Slight things I'm worried about is because the wires for the lights are essentially not, you know, there's gaps underneath the wires. There's a small chance that this filler will get underneath them and expand and push them up, but I don't think it is. I think it's more likely to form round the wires rather than push the wires up, but we'll see. And if there's any little bits that I've not sealed properly and the filler gets down and it pushes stuff. But I mean, it's designed not to do that. It's designed to fill holes without causing damage, I'm assuming. But yeah, I'm just going to leave the camera running while I do a couple of bits. And then when I come back later, we'll see how big this has got. This is definitely going to need a good... I'm not going to touch this probably until tomorrow afternoon now. Give everything time to kind of expand, harden, do its thing. And then we'll come back to it. There's a tunnel we need to do down there, a tunnel mouth we need to do down there. I need to measure it. I might just buy one instead of building one. If I do build one, it's going to be a wooden one, a wooden entrance, just a nice simple one, kind of American in style. Because I've been thinking about where is my little island actually based, because you know, the British Empire was rather large. We had colonies pretty much worldwide. So as far as where I set it, it can technically be anywhere in the world. But they are foods for thoughts for other days. So yeah, enjoy this little time lapse if it turns out well. And hopefully it'll grow significantly enough to justify leaving the camera running all this time.